So you have the basic understanding of how to use the sketch feature, but now that we've sketched our design, I even showed you the extrude, but I want to come back and talk about dimensions. Dimensions are really important because they tell the computer how big and small things are supposed to be, and it's what gives it that finite, complete, locked in type of a design, which is actually really important for our purposes. So let's take a look at this. I'm going to use my sketch dimensions. I'm going to go back and forth between the CAD program and between the model here. I'm going to look at some of these dimensions. This tall side is 1.5 inches. The bottom is 3. This side is 0.75. I'm going to not pay attention to this 1.5 right now because that's actually calling out the depth of the extrusion. But if I look, the profile thickness is 0.25, 0.25, and 0.25. So I'm going to go ahead and put those in now. Now, if I'm doing a simple dimension, I can just click on the line I'm trying to dimension and achieve that. But for other dimensions that are a little bit more difficult, oh, I lost my bottom line there. So I actually need to put a line back in here. So didn't know it was supposed to be complete. No big deal. That's 1.5, like I said. The other side was 0.75. The bottom was 3 inches. Oh, that got really hairy. Now, I could try and keep going from there, but I'm actually going to create more steps for myself. So probably the most important thing to understand is the undo button, also known as Control Z, is your best friend when you're working with CAD. So I'm going to do the undo button and get rid of that last change I did, and I'm going to come back and do it later, and you'll see why. So going back to my sketching, I'm going to do this at 0.25. This side was also 0.25. As you can see, on these simple lines, I can just click on the line and dimension it, but I want to dimension from here to here now, and I don't have a straight side to do that, so I need to click on both lines I want to dimension between, and I'm going to drag that to the side just so everything's clean, and I'm going to put it in there. All right. And now once all the other dimensions are set, I bet when I make this one 3, I won't have any problems like I did the first time. It didn't fold over itself because the other dimensions were defined. Some little tricks like that can be helpful sometimes. If something doesn't work the first time, undo it and try another route. Now that said, I hope you notice that all these lines turn black. That tells me that it is fixed. It is fully dimensioned or constrained. If we remember, these are constraints that you see in here, these little perpendicular images. So once I have the right mix of constraints and dimensions, my object becomes fully constrained. Another way I can check that is by clicking on the sketch tabs, and my current sketch has this little padlock next to it. This is fully constrained. This is what we want to achieve with all of our sketches. So I'm going to go ahead and extrude this now. And I know it wanted to extrude 1.5 inches. The bigger question with Fusion, though, is which way is that extruding? Because I can go 1.5 inches this way or the other way. But if I go back and I look here, it really looks like I want to extrude towards the back. So I can drag it that way, or if I just type in a negative 1.5, it'll do the same thing. Oh, too many zeros there. So negative 1.5, and that's kind of what I want to see. So I'm going to say OK to that. I'm fully constrained. I only have one sketch and one extrude as represented down here in the histogram area. The other thing, one of the things to remember too, is that it's a good habit to develop now, is when you're saving your object, especially the last save to turn it in, you're essentially done with it. You want to make sure that you're putting it in the same orientation that it is on the drawing that you were given, which in this case is an isometric view. And because of the plane I chose to create it on, when I hit the home button, it puts it in the right orientation. Using the view cube, you can get, if you didn't start on the plane to make it easier, you can use the view cube to get yourself to that proper orientation before you save it. But as you get going, you'll save it in the right plane and make it really easy. So that's object number 1.